Hi, I'm Mark Green with the Oklahoman in Washington. There's a familiar game playing out in the nation's capital as Congress picks over President Barack Obama's $3.6 trillion budget. For those of you at home, that's a 3 and a 6, followed by 11 zeros. According to the Congressional Budget Office, Obama's budget for the coming year and his projections over the next decade would add hundreds of billions of dollars to the deficit, doubling it in 6 years and tripling it in 10 years. Obama says the spending is needed to revamp health care, education, and energy policy. The game involves selling all that red ink. Obama's numbers crunchers say the deficit will be halved by the end of his first term in 2013. But after that, the deficit heads up again, and CBO says Obama's plan will cost $2.3 trillion more over 10 years than the president estimated. Now that ain't chump change, not even in Washington. Politicians talk all the time about passing along costs to our grandchildren, but $2.3 trillion would be one heck of a present for the next generation. Obama says he and CBO simply disagree about cost projections. And there's the game. Budget estimates depend on who's doing the estimating, always teetering over the specific data that gets plugged into calculation models. In this current case, Obama thinks the economy is going to grow more than CBO does. That helps the administration's bottom line because a rosier forecast means more tax revenue to pay for things or to lower the deficit. Now that's just what presidents do. When Ronald Reagan entered the White House in 1981, his budget director, David Stockman, was point man for supply-side economics. Stockman and others used optimistic data on the effect of big tax cuts to argue that the cuts would almost pay for themselves. Then, near the end of Reagan's first year, Stockman told a reporter that no one at the White House really knew what was going on with all the budget numbers. Well, that pretty much got Stockman benched for the rest of the administration. You can't be point man in the budget game and admit you don't know what you're talking about. Now Obama is trying to sell his economic plan. His point men, Budget Director Peter Orszag and Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner, are trying to convince anyone who will listen that spending like crazy eventually will bring down the deficit. Americans are the innocent bystanders in this, except that they end up paying for it. Unfortunately, there's often little to do but watch and see what happens. It takes years of actual data to know whose estimates were on target, long after the budgets have been passed and filed away.